Rivers is going to have Damian Lillard run very fast out of town. Does he help them win? You're under 500. Aaron Judge helps the Yankees win. You're paying the player $300 million. You better be sure that guy's going to help you get over the hump. For some reason, this guy is completely lost on calling plays. Maybe he's a therapist. Did you see Lamar Jackson cry to the referee? No, he didn't. We are back for a new show, a Monday edition of the Sports a Loudmouth. I'm your host, Darryl Marks, my co-host, Speedy Petey, executive producer Aaron Fishman, and our Sports Minute, Mr. Tommy Scoop. 631-672-3108 is the number to call. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouth with me and Speedy Petey every single Mondays and Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings for all our shows is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Oh, my God. I want to say something. Even off air, I was talking to the boys about just how much work I do, not only for this show, but offset on all the other stuff that I do. My mom is sick. I'm putting a bed together, cleaning out a room. So there's so much going on the weekend, but it's crazy. The weather is changing. I've been sick, and I've been in Florida. I've been all over the place. So it's crazy when I come and I sit down and I fill in, or I do a show, or I fill in for other shows and podcasts. So it's a lot, but I'm just happy to be here, and I'm happy to entertain all the people around the country that listens to our show every single week. So I want to give a shout out to all the fans on all the media junctions and all the different media outlets we're on. So thank you to all the fans that tune in and obviously shoot me messages on DM and emails. I get more emails than I do DMs, but all the fans that reach out to me and tell me how the work that I put into and the content and all the guys, they compliment all the guys and all the work that they do. So thank you to all the fans that reach out to us and reach out to me during the off week and see how I'm doing. So thank you. Well, Speedy, how are you?
I'm doing fine.
I'm trying to get my breath. I've been stressed out all day. I don't even know how I'm sitting here today, but you even heard me driving today. I was in a pissy mood.
Yes. It was a very stressful day for you. I could tell. I had a good weekend. I got to visit a family member I haven't seen since last year. My grandfather on my father's side of the family, his sister, went to a nice German restaurant. Yes, all the jokesters out there. I had a bunch of sausages, so joke about it now all the time. I had 3 different types of sausages.
How about a sausage McMuffin?
No McMuffins. It was bratwurst, knockwurst, and a veal variation. I forget the name of it, but they were very.
Have you ever had a muck muffin?
No.
Well, would you like one?
I'm good.
You don't like muck muffins?
I don't know. I have never heard of such a thing.
So if I hook you up with a muck muffin, would you eat it?
I don't know.
It's some kind of McMuffin, but.
Okay.
All right. So it's called a muck muffin.
All right.
I'm just going to go ahead, finish up.
No, I was going to say I had it was probably the biggest draft
like
beer.
If you run a muck, muck
okay,
muffin.
Whatever. I had probably the biggest draft beer. It was a liter that I've ever had. It was very good.
A liter of beer.
It was a liter of beer. It was
a liter of beer. Are you a liter of beer?
Am I a liter of beer?
Are you the leader of beer?
If I was a liter of beer, I would not be able to talk.
Well, no, I said, are you the leader of beer?
What? No sense.
You guys got it. I think everybody got it, but Speedy Petey, as always. But
enjoying the jokesters comments.
Well, I'm a little lost in half the days that I live in this wonderful world of Disney. That's what I call it. I think it's a cartoon. I live in a cartoon. That's why I do this. I like to entertain people, give you my sports knowledge and my craziness on one wonderful show. Anyways, we have a great show lined up for you at 9:15. We'll be talking to former Oklahoma Heisman winning quarterback Jason White for the first time on our show. So he will be joining us. Excited to have Jason White on the show, get into his college career and what he did, and obviously his great opportunities of winning that Heisman Trophy. And at 9:45, we'll be talking to former Chargers, Cardinals, and Panthers and Ravens cornerback Kaysen. That's who was on it. Antoine Kaysen. He will be joining us. So he's been on a show before.
Yes, about a year and a half ago he was on.
Yes. And Antoine is a fantastic personality. Love him. He's a great guy. And he's doing some good things now outside of the NFL. So Antoine Kaysen a little bit later in the show. So let's get into it. A lot to get into the NFL season. And we have Monday Night Football, 2 NFL games going on tonight. It doesn't make any sense how the NFL figures this out. Oh, you know what? In the third week, we're going to have 2 Monday Night Football games. Makes no sense.
Hey, Fitz, just remember, it's Happy Josh Allen Square Day.
Whatever it is, whatever you want to call this day or that day or whatever day it is. I mean, Josh Allen is playing tonight, and they're up 6
on both
to nothing.
sides of the ball.
Well, and every side of the balls, Speedy, he's got a lot of balls, right?
No, that's the only one that likes the balls is Deshaun Watson.
Well, he likes that, and they're both quarterbacks, right? So they like to grab them. I'm just saying. Anyways, during the fourth quarter of the Chiefs and Falcons matchup, there was a lot of controversy involving the Chiefs getting away with the passing interference call. There was contact by Chiefs safety Brian Cook on the Falcons tight end Kyle Pitts in the end zone. And the replay showed that there was contact and it came from the ball before the ball got there. The Chiefs also got the benefit of the doubt on the passing interference call on the 4th down versus the Bengals, leading to the field goal win by the Chiefs in that game. Referee Trey Blake said from the angle he didn't feel like there was any foul committed. Raheem Morris refused to speak about the non-call after the game, saying he doesn't want to be fined by the NFL. NFL Network's Albert Breer compared the Chiefs to Tom Brady and the Patriots and said that Patrick Mahomes is getting treatment like Tom Brady and Michael Jordan. The Chiefs are now 3-0 on the season, but only have a point differential of plus 13. I was speaking to Lyle Gillian before the show started. I was doing a podcast with him, and I told him he hates Daniel Jones. Absolutely can't stand Daniel Jones. And I looked at Daniel Jones's numbers. And if you go back and you look at what Daniel Jones has done this year, he has 600 yards. He's thrown 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and he has a 52.3 quarterback rating. To Patrick Mahomes, who's on my fantasy team, that's killing me right now. I drafted him. He is absolutely killing me. He has 659 yards, which is only 59 yards more than Daniel Jones. 5 touchdowns to 4 interceptions and a 51.2 quarterback rating, which is under Daniel Jones. Okay. Daniel Jones has a better quarterback rating in going into week 4 than Patrick Mahomes. So Patrick Mahomes is not having a great season, but it tells you a lot about where the NFL sees the Kansas City Chiefs. They see them as a Super Bowl contender, and they're going to do everything they possibly can to help this team move forward this year. Now, everybody thinks that I have looked at controversy and have taken shots at the NFL with the Super Bowl, and maybe you can attack me on that. I am a little crazy with controversial thoughts of what I think the NFL does for the playoffs in certain teams. And I do believe Taylor Swift had a lot to do with Kansas City going to the Super Bowl last year and making that run. I do. No matter how good the Chiefs defense played last year, and they're one of the best defenses in the league, they're nowhere close to what they were last year. This year, the secondary is very weak. This is not the same. McDuffie is a really, really good corner, but they don't have Snead there anymore. Their secondary is weak. So you can see the difference in their defense. You saw it against the Bengals. You saw it against Atlanta. So I know a lot of people sitting here today and telling me, oh, you're a Chiefs hater. I am not a Chiefs hater. I'm just speaking the truth. There are Chief haters out there, and they can't stand the Chiefs. They're the evil empire right now in the NFL. They compare them to the Patriots. They compare them to the Chicago Bulls of the 90s. I don't think there's any comparison to both these teams, okay? And that's a fact, okay? I know Albert Breer, He has his own thoughts to it. I disagree with Albert Breer. I don't think you can compare him to Michael Jordan. He's not Michael Jordan. He hasn't done what Michael Jordan did. He's doing big things, but it's not because of Patrick Mahomes. They won 3 Super Bowls and they've won back-to-back Super Bowls. As a matter of fact, I would say Patrick Mahomes had nothing to do with why they won the Super Bowl last year. He played a decent game. He wasn't the reason why they won. It was the defense. The way the defense played, especially in the second half, was just absolutely unbelievable. So, and Andy Reid, say whatever you want. Andy Reid is a fantastic coach, and he knows how to coach. Now, everybody says, well, Andy Reid didn't win without Patrick Mahomes. Either did Bill Belichick. Is you going to say that Bill Belichick had nothing to do with the success of the New England Patriots? So, this is the problem here. The NFL falls in love with players. They fall in love with superstars, and they want a face. And that's with every single sport. Baseball's been trying to find their face since Derek Jeter for years. I mean, Mike Trout was one of the best players for 7 years? He won like 3 MVPs, but nobody knew who Mike Trout was. So nobody could really say, hey, Mike Trout was the face of baseball. And the same thing with basketball. LeBron James right now is tailing off. Is he the best player right now in basketball? The answer is no. But could you obviously look at guys like, I don't know, the Greek Freak, or you look at, names like these foreign players, all these different foreign players that we speak about, and you try to compare them to what, LeBron James was or Kobe Bryant was at the time that they were dominating their decades. And they're not. Just because they don't have the pizzazz that those guys have. I'm not saying they don't stand for something, but they're not the same players. So you can't really compare them to those guys. So I go back to this whole Patrick Mahomes thing in the NFL, looking at Patrick Mahomes and saying that they have some kind of love fest for him. I do believe the NFL wants the Kansas City Chiefs to win and have a three-peat. I do believe that. I also believe that the NFL will do anything they possibly can to give them an edge. But they still have to make the plays. They still have to win. Okay? They can't say, "Oh, Patrick, we're going to give you a pass in the corner." You got to call the play and you got to make the plays. And Atlanta had a chance many, many times last night to win the game. They did. And in the third quarter, they made a lot of mistakes. And I think they should be using more of Kyle Pitts all season long. Now, Raheem Morris, I like Raheem Morris. I think he's a good coach. I just don't know if he would have been my choice on taking over this team and this squad. I would have given it to Bill Belichick. I understand that, Robert Kraft reached out to the organization and said that I think that you should move away. And I wouldn't give Bill Belichick that job. But again, if you were an owner of that team or that organization, you wanted to win and you wanted to win faster with an older quarterback in Kirk Cousins, and you gave Kirk Cousins $100 million, then I would have made that choice over a guy that like Raheem Morris that has failed 2 times in the past, not only as a coach, but as a coordinator. So again, I look at this whole thing and Albert Breer coming out and that was a passing interference. There's no doubt in my mind that was passing interference. No doubt in my mind. And if you can challenge that, which you can't, you used to could. I mean, because it used to be a rule. You can challenge plays like that, but you can't do that anymore with the NFL because they took that away after 1 year. If you remember the Saints situation with the Rams, that you can challenge plays. Now you can't do it anymore. If the referee doesn't see it and a referee doesn't, you can't really challenge something like that, especially at the end of the game. So unfortunately, it didn't work well for the Falcons. All right. It didn't fall in the Falcons' hand. And by the way, the Falcons were the home team. So you would think that they would get more of the calls, but it doesn't really matter. If you're in Kansas City, you're in New York, or you're even in Atlanta, they're going to give the Kansas City Chiefs the calls. So unfortunately, it didn't work in the favor for the Bengals the week before. And by the way, the Bengals should have won that game. The Bengals got screwed in that game. They did. Especially in the fourth quarter. There were a lot of questionable plays. Now, that was a penalty. There's no doubt, and Fish, you said there was no doubt it was a penalty. But there were parts in that game that Kansas City, they were holding. The offensive line was holding. in that game, nothing was called. And you could see it. It happened all game, especially in the fourth quarter. There were so many holding calls, and they did not call any holding. The Kansas City Chiefs got away in that game with an easy win. Oh, easy win. The Bengals should have won that game, and it was an easy walk-away win for them. And then going in to Atlanta on Sunday Night Football, where everybody, including yours truly, thought that Atlanta was going to win the game, especially the way they played the week before, they just didn't do enough in the fourth quarter. And yes, I think that should have been a touchdown. I think that should have been a penalty. But again, things don't always work on your level. Unfortunately, it just didn't work for them. And now moving forward, I think the league and I think that teams need to start complaining to the league that this cannot keep on happening. Because if it keeps on happening, I don't think Kansas City loses a game this year. And they're not even playing at the top of their game. They have not played one great game yet this year, and they're 3-0.
Yeah, it's definitely obvious when you look at the contact being so early. And if it's reversed, if it's Travis Kelce, he'll get that call. Like Albert Breer was mentioning, there's a certain level of star treatment that the Chiefs are going to get because, Patrick Mahomes is the face of the league now. So all of a sudden, outside of the Kadarius Toney offsides call, literally everything else has gone in their favor. And that kind of thing is not obvious. There's certain other teams that get it. I'm not saying the Chiefs are the first team to get it. I'm not saying the Patriots were the only team to get it too. The Seattle, in their peak with Pete Carroll there, they got away with a lot between the Hail Mary, the Calvin Johnson batting the ball out of the end zone scenario. There's a lot of things they got away with too. But referee bias has been very obvious. Whether it means the NFL is rigged or not is another question. But there's certain teams that get special calls. The Packers for years have gotten calls with that, with Aaron Rodgers there when he was there. And even last year with Jordan Love, they got away with some stuff too. But nobody has been to this extreme like that we've seen with the Chiefs. Now, the pass interference against the Bengals was a penalty, no doubt. He got there early. The Bengals defender did. But the Chiefs defender got there earlier than the Bengals defender, and they don't call that. Why? Because Kyle Pitts, as much of a prospect, as high as a prospect he was as a tight end, the Falcons are not the Chiefs that have all these household names. Everyone hates Kirk Cousins. He can't win in primetime. He's not going to get that kind of special treatment. Meanwhile, if it was reversed, the Chiefs are down 22-17 against the Falcons, regardless if it's home or away. Travis Kelce, for Taylor Swift's sake, is going to get that call. So, yeah.
I know everybody keeps saying, and I see Keith saying, stop with the Swift. It's true. It's true. By the way, Travis Kelce looks like a shell of himself. A shell of himself. First of all, he looks like he put on 10 pounds. He looks like I'm just saying, he looks like a dad now. It looks like that he's already looking towards marriage and retirement. He just got a $100 million contract with his brother, with his podcast. He really has nothing to, the only reason why he came back was to win third Super Bowl in a row. He's going for that third Super Bowl in a row. That's why it didn't make any sense why he extended his contract for 2 years. Now, obviously, if he wants to come back the year after, make that run, that could be different. But right now, if I were Travis Kelce, if they fail to win this year, I retire. He does not look like the same player he once was. He's a great player. He's going to go down as one of the greatest tight ends to ever play this game. One of the greatest playoff tight ends we've ever seen, too. Everybody keeps talking about what Gronk did in the playoffs. Travis Kelce has been more successful in the playoffs than Gronkowski was. So I give Travis Kelce a lot of credit because he's been successful. But I just think that if you look at where he is as a player, there's no need for him to play anymore. And by the way, he's not even his go-to guy anymore. It's Rice. Watch the game last night. It was all Rice. Rice had how many looks? 13, 12 looks. You can see the difference in this offense. They're starting to sway that way. I have not seen a lot of Xavier Worthy. I was very surprised. I drafted him, and you would have thought that he would be used like Tyreek Hill in the open field. They have not. They've used him in different packages, used him as kind of like a pitch running back. They're not using him in the slot. I would have, with his speed and his ability of creating space, I would put him in the slot. I would use him in so many different ways, but they're not. And I've been very surprised the way Andy Reid has been coaching this team this year. They should not be 3-0. As a matter of fact, they should be 1-2. But hey, this is the Chiefs, and you're going to have to go out there and give 110% if you expect to win.
I think there's a big thing that we're starting to see with the Chiefs that's been a few years in the making, despite the fact they've been winning, is they don't push the ball downfield nearly as much since they lost Tyreek Hill. They were able to make up for it with Travis Kelce being, this Hall of Fame tight end. And he's clearly lost a step. He's got the emo haircut. He's emo Kelce right now. He catches 2 passes a game like a washed up tight end, destroying my fantasy team 1 week at a time.
I told you not to draft him.
You're absolutely right. And I couldn't listen to you. I named my team CD and the Swifties, and the Swifties are getting me killed every week.
Dude,
So
I am getting killed right now in fantasy. I can't win. I can't buy a win. And my teams are so hooked, and I had so many good. The draft, they rated me A+ and everything. My team can't stay healthy. I'm done. I think I'm done unless some crazy thing happens. I know it's early. Everybody's like, how could you say you're done? I'm 0-3 in one of my leagues, and I'm 1-2 in the other league where my team was by far the best team drafted. So you just don't know what's going to happen week in and week out. You just don't.
Fantasy football is such a crapshoot. I'll say this though about the Chiefs: if Mahomes is going to average less than 6 yards a pass downfield, they're going to struggle with their passing game. It does not, and that's what he was at. He was around 5.6, I believe, last night. That's not going to get it done. They need to push the ball downfield. Worthy, look, you can have all the speed in the world, but if you can't get open on over routes like Tyreek Hill, you're not the same guy. It's not like they can magically beat Tyreek Hill just because he's a track star. We've seen a lot of track stars in the NFL not really become anything. I think Worthy's a lot better than that, but he's still being used as a gadget player where they're doing, the things that we said that Wan'Dale Robinson, who I think is having a better start to the season than Worthy, was just doing, he's just doing sweeps, screens, fly sweeps, these just little gimmicky plays that the defense has to be ready for. They got to prepare for, but it's not like a regular passing attack where Tyreek Hill is doing an over route. You better put 2 guys back there or you're completely done. And that's what they don't have. And Kelsey isn't able to get it done. It looks like Rice is doing those more intermediate routes that Kelsey used to do, coming in from the slot, playing a little bit more outside this year. But they need a deep threat, and they certainly don't have it right now. They're getting by with smoke and mirrors and quite a lot of help from the officials, boys.
No question. And again, nobody, and I'm reading what Keith is saying, and nobody's saying that it wasn't the worst play or worst call. We all understand that, Keith. It's just there's a lot of benefit being a Kansas City Chief and being what the Kansas City Chiefs have stood for the last couple of years. They're the face of the NFL, and the NFL and these referees have some love fest for them to succeed. Now, that doesn't mean that they haven't made the plays when they need to. They have made the plays. It's just Patrick Mahomes is not the same player he was. And again, everybody, there's so much love fest. I mean, listen to the analysts. This guy runs outside of the pocket. Oh, this is Patrick Mahomes' ass. Patrick Mahomes has not played at the top of his game. As a matter of fact, all these quarterbacks that we saw, we spoke about before the season started, Joe Burrow, has he really been that good this year? He hasn't. Patrick Mahomes, has he really been good this year? No. Lamar Jackson finally had a great game yesterday. I mean, none of these guys. The only one that's really been a guy that's really stood out is Josh Allen, who's up 13-0 right now against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, I mean, he's the only one. And to me, the MVP right now of the league. I mean, Josh Allen's been unbelievable. This team is not the same team they were last year. This defense is not the same defense that they were last year. And it doesn't matter who's playing. They have Milano in this defense. They have anybody. They don't have White in this defense. They don't have anybody in this defense. And they're still winning. They're still playing at the top of the game. So, and it has a lot to do with Josh Allen. No Diggs, no Gabe Davis, no problem. He's found a way to get everybody involved. So, when you have a star quarterback that, who's taking the brunt of all the craziness of the Buffalo Bills, because everybody hates Josh Allen. I don't know why. He's such a likable person, but Jalen Ramsey, before he even stepped on an NFL football field, hates him. I mean, last year, Stephon Diggs on and off the field saying all this crap about him. And this guy just goes out there and plays hard. And you have to give him a lot of credit. This guy is as hard a worker as anybody I've seen in the NFL. And the guy, he puts his body on the line too. He's 6'5", 6'4", and he just beats his body up just to try to get that first down or 2 extra yards to get his team in the right scoring position. So I love what Josh Allen stands for. And this could be the first year, if he continues doing what he's doing, this could be the first year he wins the MVP. And he's in a division that, Aaron Rodgers is not going to make it easier for him. If Aaron Rodgers plays like he did on Thursday, the Jets play like they did on Thursday night, I know it's New England, so I'm not going to brag about it. But if they could do that against the better teams in the NFL, watch out for the Jets. I mean, this could be 2 of the best teams right now in all of the AFC, and they're in the same division fighting for it. So, but to get back with that, I just think, Patrick Mahomes is definitely getting that star treatment. And I want to see Patrick Mahomes actually show up one week and put up 50 points on my fantasy team. Give me 350 yards. How many 300-yard passers have we had this year? Not many. And Baker Mayfield, everybody was talking about. And by the way, you telling me to bring in and bring Tampa's defense in? Boy, oh boy, did they show up against the Broncos? God, please.
Upset of the year.
Oh my God, it was horrible. Watching, I listen to you when it comes to fantasy, I lose. I'll never do that again. And by the way, you told me to draft. Now I'm not saying Jonathan Taylor is not a good running back, but I should have drafted Saquon Barkley. Oh my God, that guy is unbelievable. I don't care what anybody says. That guy's unbelievable. We'll get into Saquon Barkley a little later. We're not going to get into that right now. After the Ravens beat the Cowboys in Week 3, Lamar Jackson appeared to take shots at John Harbaugh in his post-game interview. Jackson said he was disappointed on the Ravens that they didn't stay more aggressive and put more points on the board when the Cowboys started to come back. The Ravens held on to a win 28-25 after leading 28-6 throughout the 3 quarters. The Ravens blew a 23-13 fourth quarter lead in Week 2 versus the Raiders and lost 26-23. Lamar also took shots at cornerback Marion Humphrey, who celebrated the win with his Instagram live video. He told Humphrey that he shouldn't be doing a live video and that that the win wasn't worth celebrating. Since 2022, the Ravens have blown 7 double-digit leads, and 4 of those leads were in the fourth quarter. First of all, I love that Lamar Jackson is stepping up to the plate and becoming the leader of this team. Everybody says, well, he was the leader. John Harbaugh is always the one that speaks to the press and takes shots and says what he feels. It wasn't John Harbaugh this time. It was Lamar Jackson. I think Lamar Jackson understands the loss that they had last year against Kansas City in the AFC title game, the best chance they had to going to the Super Bowl, his best chance of going to the Super Bowl, and he laid up a lousy goose egg. And he, starting the season 0-2 and almost starting the season 0-3 and might have been out of a playoff run, has been something that he did not expect from this team. He's disappointed with this team. He should be. This is one of the best defenses in the NFL. There's no question that they are. They did lose Queen in the offseason. That was a big loss. I'm not gonna say a huge loss, but a big loss. A linebacker that good that can do things in the open field, getting at the quarterback and stopping the run. And by the way, they've had problems stopping the run all season long. And they started off really, really strong in the first half of the season, first half of the game, and they fall apart in the second half. They did it against the Raiders, and they did it against the Cowboys. Now, the Cowboys actually came back. For all the Cowboy fans that want to blame Dak Prescott for this loss, Dak Prescott wasn't playing defense. By the way, Micah Parsons, where has he been? Where's this defense, this secondary that everybody keeps talking about? So there's a lot of questions. Carson is not a good cornerback. He looked horrible. And Lamar Jackson was attacking him the whole game, especially in the first half. You saw that he just kept attacking that side of the field. And CeeDee Lamb just didn't have a big game. He didn't. And CeeDee Lamb has to pick up his game. He got a big contract in the offseason. And we've seen this before. These guys get their big contracts and they step back and they're not the same player. Now, Dak Prescott didn't play great, but he didn't play bad. Dak Prescott, first of all, his PPR is pretty high. And he's still I think, a top 10 PPR player right now in the NFL. So to say that he is not good, I'd say that to the beef today. Now, is he putting up 300 yards, 400 yards? He's not. Is he throwing 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns? He's got one weapon. CeeDee Lamb. And if CeeDee Lamb is not playing well, who's he throwing the ball to? Jerry Jones? There's nobody. Cooks? They've got nobody. You Cowboy fans, for you all you fans out there saying, we paid Dak Prescott $60 million, who are you going to pay? Who are you going to pay that kind of money? What quarterback could you bring in right now if Dak wasn't there to pay him that kind of money? There is nobody. Andy Dalton, he looked pretty good the other day.
Bring him back.
I mean, I'm just saying, Andy Dalton looked pretty damn good. And maybe he takes over for this Carolina team and they win a couple games this year. But right now, the Cowboys aren't a good team. They're not a good squad. They can't stop a lick on the defensive side of the ball. And if they can't stop a lick on the defensive side of the ball, how is the offense going to be aggressive? This is the problem right now. And Lamar Jackson, before you knew it, they were up, what 17-3? I mean, there was no chance they had in this game. And they can't run the ball. The Cowboys cannot run the ball. Everybody says Pollard suck. Okay, Pollard's gone. You bring Ezekiel Elliott in, and what has Ezekiel Elliott done? He's done nothing. Zeke has done nothing.
Tony Pollard's outplayed everybody.
They have no running game. They could have went after Derrick Henry. It would have made a lot of sense. Derrick Henry's looked pretty damn good. He's looked good. For anybody that thought that Derrick Henry's washed up, listen, what does he have? 3-4 touchdowns already? I mean, he's done pretty well.
Cue the Last Dance meme. He took that personally, not signing with the Cowboys.
I mean, he's probably better off. I mean, even though Lamar Jackson and this Baltimore Ravens team is only 1-2. And right now they're looking on their way up because the Pittsburgh Steelers are 3-0. And by the way, who was right about Justin Fields, ladies and gentlemen? Because Russell Wilson, good luck trying to get that job back. He's not getting that back. That's Justin Fields' team now. And I said that. I want to get that guy that we had on his podcast.
Yep.
I want to get him on because I would love to hear what he has to say about Justin Fields. Now, he thought it was Russell Wilson's team. Russell Wilson got hurt. I said, if Russell Wilson starts the season on the injured reserve, he's going to lose that job. He's going to lose that job because the team loves this kid. They love him. Nobody wanted to get rid of him. Caleb Williams, I still think Caleb's going to be a good player. But boy, oh boy, could you imagine if Justin Fields was on that team right now? They'd be 3-0. They'd be 3-0 right now. Yes, the Chicago Bears would be 3-0 right now. So I'm not taking shots at Caleb Williams, and I'm taking shots at the Chicago Bears coaching staff. They don't know what the hell they're doing. Eberflus is an idiot. He's hurting that kid's career here. Justin Fields' career. Look, he goes over there with Mike Tomlin. They're 3-0. Has Justin Fields ever gone 3-0 at once in his career with the Chicago Bears? Not even a chance. I don't even think he won 2 games in a row.
They usually were like 0-4 at the start of every season.
So that has something to do with coaching. Mike Tomlin's a great coach. You see the difference. But to get back to this, I love Lamar Jackson. I love what he what he stands for, and him taking shots at Marlon Humphreys, taking shots at John Harbaugh. It shows you his leadership. It's not good enough for him. This is not good enough for him. He wants to win, and you're not going to win playing this kind of football. And if you're going to play when you're up 23 or 28-6 at one point of the game, and you give up that kind of points in the fourth quarter and gave the Cowboys a chance to win, that's embarrassing. And then going up on social media on a live chat and celebrating the way he did and Marlon Humphreys, that says a lot about his leadership. It says a lot about his personality. It's just not good enough. It's not good enough to this organization. It's not good enough for a guy like Lamar Jackson that saw his fortunes just fall out after that failure of an AFC title game.
Yeah.
By the way, that was the best team in the NFL.
Yeah.
That Baltimore Raven team last year was by far the best team in the NFL, and they choked in an AFC title game.
Yeah, and Marlon Humphrey on paper, like when it comes to his talent, I mean, is probably a top 5 corner. But you're right, the leadership aspect of him has always been like that since he was a rookie too. That first year in 2017 was the year the Ravens infamously fell apart against the Bengals and allowed the Bills to get in the playoffs. And was a big reason why he was trash talking. Another one that was Josh Allen was in the league yet, but they were trash talking the Bengals, they were trash talking the Bills, saying they were better than them. And even in 2019, when Lamar Jackson won his first MVP, Marlon Humphrey was saying, "Oh, this is the best team ever. Like we're better than this Ravens defense, that Ravens defense," and they fall apart in the playoffs. But this kind of thing has been a question mark. Mike McDonald, when he was defensive coordinator there 2 years ago, had all those blown leads in 2022, including against the Giants of all teams. Like the Giants are not throwing the ball crazy that year, and the Giants came back on them. Jacksonville, who wasn't that good until the end of the season, came back on them. And now they have a new defensive coordinator, and they're still having that same kind of problem. It's something with John Harbaugh and with the guys that they're bringing in too. And John Harbaugh has been in questions for a while because they haven't won a lot of playoff games recently in this Lamar Jackson era. Now, Lamar Jackson obviously has a lot to do with that too because he hasn't played well in the playoffs. But John Harbaugh, when you look at the level of defenses that they've had, has struggled in the playoffs besides the Bills game in 2020 against a lot of offenses that aren't amazing.
And you want to hear something funny? I'm reading what Keith is saying, that Dak Prescott played like crap. Oh, he really played like crap.
No.
Okay, let me explain something to you, Keith, because this goes back to all you Dak Prescott haters. Do you know that he is amongst the league in yards right now? CeeDee Lamb is not even having a good season. He's amongst the league leaders in yards right now, 851. He's got 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and his quarterback rating, right? His completion percentage is 60.7, which is amongst the league's best. And his rating is the rate passer ratings over 90. So to say right now that Dak Prescott played bad is ridiculous. His biggest weapon, CeeDee Lamb, is not having a good year, and he's still putting up good numbers. How does that make sense? Why? Because he couldn't win the game. He can't play defense too. I'm going to tell you. You look at. I mentioned Daniel Jones. I mentioned Patrick Mahomes. Besides Justin Herbert, I would say Dak Prescott's been a top 3, top 4 quarterback right now in the first 3 weeks. So why is everybody hating on this guy? What is the hatred of Dak Prescott? Why does everybody hate this guy? I understand he's not throwing up 300, 350 yards right now, but he's given up 2 interceptions. He still threw four touchdowns to nobody. Who's he throwing to? Brandon Cooks? Who's his other guy? I don't even know their wide receiving core. What is it? What is it for the hatred of Dak Prescott? I don't understand it. I still, to the beef, I would love to hear it. What is the hatred? I don't get it.
And where is Trey Lance right now, Beef? The one that you claimed last year you wanted to start.
Just think about this. Dak Prescott is averaging 283 yards per game. 283 yards. Do you know he's like second or third right now in average yards per game right now in the NFL? In the NFL, and they're 1 and 2. And their defense is playing like crap. What is the hatred? By the way, his quarterback rating is 85.8, which is still amongst the best in the league.
Yeah.
So just so you guys know, last year was 105.9, but it's 85.8, which is, I think, top 5 right now in the league.
Yeah. To put it in perspective to all the saying that the passing game is the biggest problem with the Cowboys. Keep in mind, Marlon Humphrey, even amidst the comments, is still a talented corner that is going to get his against CeeDee Lamb. And you saw that kind of thing. They had a pretty even battle with both of them. Humphrey struggled in the fourth quarter when the coaching got too conservative. But going back to the Cowboys issues, the Cowboys allowed a ton on the ground last week against Alvin Kamara. They allowed a ton on the ground this week against Derrick Henry, who the first 2 games with the Ravens was struggling.
By the way, Dak Prescott leads the league in yards thrown. He is 851. The only one behind him is Brock Purdy, which is 842. Geno Smith, 786. Jalen Hurts, 772. Matthew Stafford, 754. And by the way, he leads the league in 851 yards. And CeeDee Lamb has not had, I think he's had 100-yard game all season long.
Yeah, and keep in mind, like everyone on that list, you mentioned Geno Smith. The Seahawks have good weapons. The Eagles have great weapons for Jalen Hurts and doesn't know how to use them probably. He's had a horrible year to start this year so far. But I'll give Purdy credit, obviously, with the injuries they've had in Stafford. But Dak Prescott, besides CeeDee Lamb, like you're saying, doesn't have anyone to throw to. The Cowboys cannot stop the run or run the ball. Like the Cowboys' running game, we're going to get into the Derrick Henry thing in a bit. The Cowboys' running game has been abysmal and inefficient so far this year. Some of it's the offensive line, okay, but the offensive line and pass protection has been fine for the most part.
Actually, and I'm going to go back to with what I corrected here. CeeDee Lamb has not had a 100-yard game yet this year. 67 yards against the Baltimore Ravens, 90 yards against the Saints, and 61 yards against the Cleveland Browns. And this guy still leads the league in yards. What does that tell you?
Well, I think it tells you their defense is terrible, and he has to throw the ball 1,000,000 times to get them have a chance to get back in the game.
He's accurate too. It's not like he's
accurate in the fourth quarter when he's playing against no doubles defenses.
Through the game. Stop it. He's accurate through the game.
Well,
because his pass
they had
rate
6 points until 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Look at the weapons around him.
I know, but that's a losing quarterback. You know, like they should have never gotten as close as they did. That's not controlling the game. I would argue there's 2 things going on here. Number one, he's got really great stats because the defense sucks and they're doing everything and teams are playing off. But that's not a fault of his. That's just how the game script went. I think the bigger issue is they can't run the ball. And if they can't run the ball, they can't do play action off of the run, which is what he's really, really good at.
Yes.
And they really can't do what they want to do with Dak right now. So it's not until everyone loosens up, because the receivers, like you said, aren't that great. Ferguson's been banged up. It's just not really what you want. And I'll tell you, I don't know if you saw it, but CeeDee Lamb had a fight with him on the sidelines about not getting the ball, saying, "I'll be here all day." They both signed 4-year deals. They're both going to be there. And if they can't get along, I don't know why he's not trying to throw it to him. Maybe CeeDee's not as open. I haven't broken down the film with CD as much, although he's killing me fantasy-wise. Again, CD was my number 1 pick.
It's McCarthy. McCarthy's calling the plays, and he probably has 2 plays, and McCarthy didn't want to throw the ball down the field because Lamar, first of all, Baltimore's defense before the season started, who didn't think that Baltimore had one of the top 2 defenses? And they do. And their secondary is unbelievable. If you look at their secondary and the talent that they have in their secondary, it's great. So he was afraid to throw the ball down the field to CeeDee Lamb. That's because of Mike McCarthy. He's the play caller. So everybody wants to blame Dak Prescott. The problem is, and I'm sorry to cut you off, Fish, because it really bothers me, is I understand people don't like this guy. You have every right to not like him, all right? If you don't like him, that's fine. To say that this guy isn't a good quarterback is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. This guy, year in and year out, especially last year, was the runner-up for the MVP. And this year, he started the season. His best player is not getting in the first 2 games. Well, the first game, he could not get open if his life depended on it. His second game, he did. Against the Saints, he got open. And he got him the ball. He got the ball to him. I just think the problem right now is the defense isn't figuring out how to play defense, and they can't run the ball, like you said, Fish. So if they can't run the ball and they become one-dimensional, that's the problem. And one-dimensional teams don't usually come out the winner. That's what I see. And it has nothing to do with Dak Prescott. So for everybody that wants to hate on him and say that Dak Prescott sucks, shame on you to put this guy down. Okay, I don't understand it. It really upsets me, and I bet you that's Keith.
It is Keith. I just want to make one more point. And Fish, you can finish up what you were saying too. For our old friend Sean Smith, who was saying Mike Zimmer is going to change this defense, what has he done?
Horrible. But I also think it's a different defense.
Oh, it is.
They're playing. Remember, they were playing what 4-3.
Well, they were playing a 4-3, but the main thing is they lost a bunch of players.
But now they're playing more 3-4.
Zimmer is a 4-3 guy, a different type of 4-3
but he's
guy.
using more 3-4, because they've had
to, because they've had no edge rush. Yeah, that's what you're saying.
That defense is real ugly, but I think the real fault lies with the next story we're going to talk about is the fact that they don't have a running back, and they easily could have had the running back that just torched them the entire game. Derrick Henry only cost $10 million for the season, something like that.
They have no offensive line either. Fish, they gave up Smith. They let Smith go to the Jets. They let him go to the Jets.
And Martin's on his last season. He doesn't look the same, like he's the same guy anymore.
Dude, Smith looks like he's rebirthed. Look what he's doing for the Jets. That offensive line's one of the top 5 offensive lines right now in football. Football.
They're almost as good as the Giants' offensive line.
Oh, please.
Well, I'll just say this because we will talk about it later, but it would be nice to be able to afford a $10 million running back that's elite. If you weren't paying a third-string quarterback named Trey Lance $5 million a year, you would be able to afford that $10 million running back that just made you look like the worst defense in the league. I can't believe they allowed this to happen. It's shameful. They really thought Ezekiel Elliott had any tread left on the tires, and Rico Dowdle was their solution.
Who?
Exactly. That's who's getting most of the touches. It's Rico Dowdle, as in you've never heard of him for a reason.
Dowdle.
Oh, wait, you got the Beavs. The Cowboys.
Oh, Dowdle, please. Rico Dowdle.
They could take Eric Gray for all I care. I would do that deal.
I'm rather have Dowdle than Eric Gray on how they treat Dak Prescott. I'll tell you that. After Derrick Henry rushed for 151 yards versus the Cowboys defense in week 3, Jerry Jones commented about the Cowboys not going after Derrick Henry in the offseason. The Cowboys were linked to Henry all offseason, but Jones said they never even reached out to him. Jones claimed that they couldn't afford Derrick Henry and was content with the roster that they had. Several Cowboy fans called Jerry Jones the worst con man in sports history. Other fans took shots at Jerry Jones for waiting too long to sign Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, saying they would have been able to manage their salary cap better. Cowboys running backs this season have rushed for 3.6 yards per game and 221 total yards, both 4th worst in the NFL this season. We all know Ezekiel Elliott is and Mr. Doubtful is not the answer right now at the running back position. And maybe Kareem Hunt was sitting there. Why didn't they go and make a run for Kareem Hunt? That made no sense.
Or they brought in Jets legend Dalvin Cook.
That's even better. I mean, first of all, why isn't Dalvin Cook playing? Dalvin Cook is better than any of these running backs right now.
Maybe Mike Zimmer hates him so much that he won't play.
I doubt that, but they brought him in because of Mike Zimmer. I believe that. Mike Zimmer loved Dalvin Cook. I'm sorry?
He just must be done, Dalvin Cook, at this point.
I don't know if he's done. I just think Ezekiel Elliott is Dak Prescott's best friend, and they're giving him a chance. And eventually they're going to give up on Dak Prescott. He's done, and they know he's done, and they're going to have to look elsewhere in the scrap heap. If they're a playoff team, they need to find a running back. Here's the problem. And the whole Derrick Henry thing, of course, they're going to get backlash on this. The problem right now is the quarterback. And I'm not talking about Dak Prescott. I'm talking about their backup quarterback. They're paying Trey Lance $5 million to be a backup quarterback. And this guy couldn't be a backup quarterback on a high school team. Okay? This guy is not good. We saw him in the preseason. The guy didn't have one touchdown pass in the preseason. And he's making $5 million a year. Does that make any sense to you? And for the Beeve and all those Cowboy fans that think that Trey Lance is the answer over Dak Prescott, you guys are out of your damn minds. If Dak did not get that $60 million contract, I guarantee you there would have been 28, 27 other teams lining up for Dak Prescott in the offseason. It's ridiculous. I don't understand why everybody hates this guy. As you heard Keith, he doesn't really like Dak. He can say whatever he wants. He don't like Dak. I understand that you don't think he could do this and you don't think he could do that. He's efficient. And that's all I'm going to say. Efficient quarterbacks don't win Super Bowls over the years. Peyton Manning, he was efficient. How many Super Bowls he won? He should have won like 5 or 6. He only won 2. Drew Brees was efficient. How many Super Bowls did he win? He won 1. I'm just speaking the truth. I'm just going back at quarterbacks, and I don't think Dak Prescott's the reason why they're not winning. They're not winning because they have no running game, like Fish said. There is no running game. There's nothing. There's zero. Zilch. You're better off having Jerry Jones, who barely can walk, run the ball in the backfield.
Hear that meme that Jerry Jones always has.
Players would probably miss
myself a quarterback
if he was paying if he was paying them $1 million to miss. I mean, there's no reason why right now the Cowboys didn't go after Derrick Henry or any of these good running backs that were available. Jacobs was available in the offseason. What did Jacobs get from the Green Bay Packers?
8.5, I think.
$8.5 million? You're telling me you wouldn't pay Josh? Could you imagine Josh Jacobs on this team? Come on, guys. Josh Jacobs would have 4 or 5 touchdowns right now, and he would open up the field for CeeDee Lamb. They're a one-dimensional team. Teams have figured that out. The Baltimore Ravens figured that out. That's the problem. They could have had Swift. Absolutely, Carl. They could have had anybody. They could have had Saquon Barkley. The problem is they didn't have the money because they're paying a backup quarterback $5 million. And stupid people, and no offense to the Beef, stupid Cowboy fans, I'm not going to call my friend stupid, but boy, oh boy, that take of saying that I would rather Trey Lance or Zach Wilson as my starting quarterback is ridiculous. Where is Trey Lance right now? I don't know. He should be a 3rd or 4th string on, some backup, CFL team. And we all know where Zach Wilson is. He's hanging out at a picnic right now. Nobody wants that mother effer. I'm just speaking the truth. It's a problem. And then there's no excuses for Jerry Jones. There's none. There's not an excuse that should come out of his book right now. To let Smith go to the Jets? Look at what he's doing for the Jets right now. That offensive line was ranked, 31st in the NFL last year? Look where they're ranked right now. 5, 6 right now in the NFL? Why do you think they're ranked 5 or 6? Because Aaron Rodgers is not getting sacked. He's getting all the time in the world to stand in that pocket and make throws. And when Aaron Rodgers can pick you apart, what happens? What happens? He's going to beat you. He's Aaron effing Rodgers. So, I have attacked the Jets in many different ways because we have a coach named Bambi on the team. That's the facts. He's not a good coach. It's not why they're winning. They're winning because Aaron effing Rodgers is out there making throws and making plays over nothing. I don't care who's crying, Bambi or anybody in the sidelines. Nathaniel Hackett jumping around, giving his pump like he's won a Super Bowl. The Jets haven't won anything. And by the way, for all you Jet fans out there that think that they have, boy, oh boy, after these next 2 games, it's going to get hard. It's going to get hard. We will see what this Jets team is all about. We will. And I'm not going to get into that. We're back to the Cowboys. And this is all about the Cowboys right now. I'm going back to what I said before the season started. I still think this Cowboy team is going to make the playoffs. I think they're better than they've shown on a football field. Micah Parsons is overrated. Did you see Micah Parsons' face throughout that game? Teams have figured that defense out. What are they doing? They're everywhere. They're trying to move Micah Parsons on both sides of the field, and now running. And they're using now. Zimmer is a 4-3 guy, but they're using a lot of 3-4 options, and it doesn't work for Micah Parsons. And Micah Parsons, I've seen him roll up in the linebacker role. That's not his strength. His strength is playing on the outside and getting at the quarterback. And then when he does, teams are, they're putting 3 guys on that one side, having a tight end on that. They even play double tight ends in some plays. You're not going to beat 3 guys on the outside. And everybody knows what their strength is on their defense. It's definitely not that corner play because Diggs, he's a shell of what he was. And Carson stinks. Oh, my God, he's so bad. I mean, I could have scored on any of those throws. I mean, seriously, I probably could have outran him. I could have outran him. It was horrible. The Cowboys defense is a shell of what it was last year in the first half. And we saw what they were in the second half. Hence the reason why they got just completely annihilated by the Green Bay Packers.
Yep. They were exposed badly in that Bills game last year after Thanksgiving. And then every team has used that kind of blueprint since then. I think besides
And you know what the blueprint is?
Run the ball because they can't stop the run.
But you know what the blueprint is? Double team, triple team on Micah Parsons and let everybody beat us.
Yeah, it's also sometimes, depending on the type of offense, you have quite the opposite. They'll decoy Micah Parsons, run to the other side. We've seen the Eagles do that a lot. We've seen the 49ers do that a lot.
Besides Micah Parsons right now in their front 7, would you take anybody on your roster?
Not anymore. They lost
I rest my case. Not anymore.
They lost pretty much their entire linebacking core.
I rest my case, ladies and gentlemen.
Their nose tackle Zhua is pretty good, but he's not much of a pass rusher. And then they don't have much else besides that. And then, like you said, Mike Zimmer's trying to use Micah Parsons like they used Anthony Barr in Minnesota, and it's just not helping his game.
Where's Mr. Smith when you need him? Where is our friend Mr. Smith? That's what I want to know.
Mike
Zimmer's the best.
Mike Zimmer,
the smartest defensive man I've ever played for you.
Yeah. There was another Mr. Smith that they were hoping was going to be able to help them on that D-line. Mazzie Smith was their first-round pick from Michigan, and he has not done anything, and he's not going to make it. Doesn't look like he's hurt this year. He just hasn't been able to do anything. They're in a lot of trouble. That defense is too easy to stop. They're a sieve everywhere. They're poor tacklers. They pursue the ball very high. There were all these plays that could have been stopped. The Bateman touchdown should have been stopped. There were long plays along the sideline. They're just blowing easy things. It's really embarrassing. And Micah Parsons, it's not his fault. They're going to double and triple him. They're going to run away from him. They're going to throw on the other side of him. They're going to dictate formation to make it so that he can't impact the game. Kind of like how the Rams did to Fred Warner since everyone else was hurt on the 49ers.
Would you trade Micah Parsons in the offseason?
I mean, then you have nobody who's any good. So if you're going to bottom out, and get a first, you get
2 firsts for Micah Parsons.
Then you have to. You would have to if you're going to rebuild.
Yeah, you're not rebuilding because you have CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott. But if you want to rebuild that defense and you want to rebuild it quick, would you trade Micah Parsons for 2 first-round draft picks?
Yeah, you'd have to. The way that how weak they are.
You save money. You save money.
You need a corner for sure. Need a corner. They need another kind of interior pass rusher, a defensive tackle type. Not so much a nose, but a 3 technique who can get in like Marcus Lawrence used to.
This is the defensive draft to do it. I mean, why not? I mean, there are other teams that have first-round draft picks. How about the Bears? The Bears always looking for, a superstar defensive player. We all know Khalil Mack. He was there. I mean, there are guys out there. There are teams out there that have double the draft picks in the first round. If I were the Cowboys and knowing that I need to rebuild this defense and get younger, I trade Micah Parsons. Pittsburgh's willing. If Pittsburgh's willing to give up 2 first rounds in a second, a first and a second this coming year and a first the year after, I do it. He wants to go to Pittsburgh. Why not? Why not do it? I mean, Pittsburgh's loaded anyways.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, maybe they get Queen on that trade too. Get Queen in that trade as well.
Or Highsmith would make a lot more. Or
Highsmith.
Edge, yeah.
Maybe get Highsmith a first and a second.
Yeah.
And you get your edge guy and you get the first round draft pick. Then you have 2 first round draft picks, including your own, and a second. And Micah goes over there to Pittsburgh where he wants to play.
You probably get Highsmith at maybe like 2/3 of the price of what you have to pay Parsons.
What was the last savvy move Jerry Jones made though? I can't remember the last
Hire
time he
me.
did
I'll do
something
it.
this
I'll make the trade.
creative.
I'll make the trade. I'll go out there and make the trade. I'll do it. I'll go out there, Jerry. Just step away. Step away. I've got this. I've got this. Pull your underwear down. Play with the 23-year-olds or whatever the hell you're doing in the background. Call Bill. Call Bill. Yeah, you and him can hang out with Rob, and I'll take care of everything. And I'll just make the trade. I'll say, you know what? I'm going to reach out to Pittsburgh. I'm going to make this trade. I'm going to trade Micah. I'm going to get a first. I'm going to get a second, and I'm going to get Highsmith. And by the way, after that, I'll get I'll get some cheerleaders from the Pittsburgh Steelers too, and I'll have my little fun after that.
Which Jerry Jones will try to do, but then realize they don't have any.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the cheerleaders of the Cowboys are all like drill sergeants. Did you ever watch that Netflix thing? It's crazy what they do to those girls over there for $50,000 a year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy how they got to go on these diets. They got to have a certain body fat. It's disgusting. It's crazy. By the way, it's 14-7. Watch if the Bengals lose this game. They're done. Season's over for them. If they lose this game, there's no way. How many teams come back from an 0-3?
Not many. I think only 5 have made the playoffs since the merger.
And this is why I didn't play T. Higgins, because T. Higgins is not going to be. But next week, T. Higgins is going to be used a lot more, and that's when I'm going to start T. Higgins. But they need T. Higgins just in a bad way. Jamar Chase is he's getting double teamed, and teams know that's their strength, is just throwing the ball down the field to Jamar Chase. But God, I'm sorry, Fish. By the way, you know what? Before I get you, Fish, I'd like to hear what Tommy Scoops has to say. I mean, it's interesting. I know he's been waiting to do a sports minute. I know you hate the Cowboys, and you all hate the Cowboys because you're Giant fans. And look at the smiles on these Giants. All you wear the Giants hats except this guy right over here. But your thoughts to the Jerry Jones situation with the Derrick Henry, not bringing Derrick Henry in the offseason.
I mean, you definitely do have to think you kind of shot yourself in the foot a tiny bit for the fact
that is a big bit.
A big bit, yeah.
It's a big bit. I mean, Speedy's a little bit, to the big bit.
I mean, I'm just going to usher it again, too. What is this Cowboys backfield right now? This is that one last hurrah backfield with Dalvin Cook, who, like I said, I don't know why he's in this backfield with Ezekiel Elliott. So
he hasn't even stepped on the field.
No, he hasn't. I completely forget that he's on the team, honestly. So that's one issue right there. But like I said, too, look at the work that Derrick Henry has doing. I mean, this is going to be kind of similar to how the whole Saquon Barkley and Giants thing is going on. This man just ran 151 yards and 2 touchdowns on you. That's you guys missed out on that very, very quite well. And Jerry Jones I don't know. Jerry Jones has been kind of annoying lately. I mean, he has lately, yeah. I mean, personally though, recently within the last this whole drama with the CeeDee Lamb situation, the whole drama with the Dak Prescott situation, it's what is he doing? It's I personally don't agree with a lot of the situations that he has decided to kind of deal with it or issue it out. So I mean, this Derrick Henry right here, this kind of proves it that Fish always was saying it too throughout the season too. The Cowboys did absolutely nothing. The Cowboys did nothing, and this is absolutely proving it with missing out on Derrick Henry.
Just so you guys know, the top 5 rushers right now in the NFL: Saquon Barkley, number 1. Jordan Mason from the 49ers, J.K. Dobbins, who everybody gave up on from the Chargers. Who would have thought that? Alvin Kamara and Derrick Henry. So Alvin Kamara, who everybody thought was done. Derrick Henry, everybody thought they was done. Saquon Barkley was getting overpaid. Jordan Mason, nobody even heard of. And J.K. Dobbins, everybody thought was done.
And Derrick Henry,
think about it.
Derrick Henry struggled his first 2 games. Let's just say even more about the Cowboys defense.
Just think about that. Just think about what we just said.
Isn't it just a great guy to root against, though, Jerry Jones, this oil tycoon who, I'm old enough to remember a couple of years ago, the fact that somehow he doesn't get Me Too'd with all of the videos and clips where he's got his slip hanging a little bit, and a 20-something-year-old, maybe if she's in her 20s, girl messing around with him. Pretty sure he's married, or at least not supposed to be doing that in the office of the Dallas Cowboys. This is a guy that's a dirtbag. Listen, let's just face it. And that's the dirtbag franchise ever since he's owned them. And I don't feel bad at all that they suck. It makes me super happy that they suck. They deserve it. They absolutely deserve it. Scumbag franchise gets scumbag effort from their terrible overpaid players. You can write it in. It's like a movie script, and it's on repeat.
Ladies and gentlemen, keep in mind, Jeff has said that multiple times too. And Jeff is not.
I'm certainly not ever quoting Jeff.
I don't
This
know, but you
is
said
the-
things like this.
It's the only thing you actually agree on.
If
Maybe
Jeff heard
it
that,
is.
he would love you.
It's good for both.
It's good for all of us, right, Speedy?
Well, let's make sure
Oh,
Jeff
that's
didn't
for
hear
both
it
of
then.
us for Fish and Jeff.
I just feel that I feel bad that Dak Prescott plays for that franchise. That's all. I feel bad for him. I stick up for him because I love what he stands for and all the stuff that he's gone through in his career and how he stands. He stands high on a Dallas Cowboy fan, Dallas Cowboy team, and fans that just want to take shots and blame him for everything when it has nothing to do with him. It has everything to do with the team and the presence of the team.